there's a certain amount of things that you can do as a freelancer, as just one person, as an employee. You can sort of affect things at a smaller level, but I think would I be right in saying that the ability to affect more people and affect more change over a broader area is something you can really only do once you kind of rise to a business level and start developing systems?
Yeah, I think so. It's if you're within a business. I mean, I changed from self-employed in 2010 to a limited company. And one of the reasons why I was doing that is I was getting recognised a lot more for whole school development, and people knew my name. So I put my name to my company, and my brand. And then the reason why I did that is sort of twofold. One, often bigger organizations see a limited company, and therefore they're more likely want to work with you. Whereas if you're self-employed, there's still that, oh, is that you're just self-employed. There's benefits for both. And that's the beauty, is like I've done it all. So it's kind of like I come from different angles and things like that. So there are tax advantages of being a limited company. Although January is a nightmare for me because I have corporation tax, I have my self-employment assessment that I have to pay as well. So January is horrible for me. It's like if I can get through January and I'm not sort of out on the street, I'm doing all right. And then so the company side, there's also that protection as well. So if there is ever a problem, you've got that protection from a limited company side of things. So um, say worst case scenario, something happens, it's the company that you can then shut down, and therefore you've still got, you're not being sued, it's the company being sued. And touch wood, it will never happen, but it's making sure that you're covered and you're protecting yourself uh, long term as well.
Yeah, it is really, you look at it quite heavily when you start working in certain sectors that require that have a lot more danger. It definitely becomes an advantage. Did the transition from from self-employed through to a company involve essentially employing people?
Yeah, so although there's elements of frustration on that as well. So essentially you become an employee of the company. So, for example, with my company, I'm employee of the company. So when we had to do pension contributions, it's a double whammy for me, because me as the company have to pay in an extra percentage, and so does me as an individual have to pay in so I got double whammy on the pension front. Um, but then again, there's those tax incentives to help, so it reduces the amount you have. But I think it really came to head during COVID, when you found that a lot of people that were self-employed um, struggled because they didn't have proof of income, because they weren't paying national insurance and things like that, and therefore they didn't get the support that companies then got. Now, because of my setup, I was in an unfortunate position. I was one of those 2%, I think it's around 2% of companies that were company directors that couldn't access any funding when it first started coming out. So I was, oh dear, I'm not going to get any money. What do I do? However, I was fortunate enough that all the schools I was working with, um, because I'd built a good reputation up and things like that, they basically said, "Don't worry, we will keep paying you through that COVID." So, although I initially didn't get any support, I went from a week where, okay, I'll plan for worst case scenario and did the bank loan thing, and that was a nightmare when it first started, and then fortunately things got um, they brought in the Sybils and stuff like that, so it was government backed loans and whatever. The initial one, I couldn't access any of the loans for 6 months. But then when they brought out the next, we're going to help businesses and things like that, I managed to get funding. And in the end, I didn't really need that money, um, but it was there as a protection buffer. Now, what a lot of other companies out there ended up doing, which I didn't. I just went for the smallest amount I needed in order to protect myself so I could pay the mortgage and I can get food. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, that's if I've got a roof over the head and I can afford food, the rest is just extra stuff I don't need. So I went bare minimum. And that's the thing I've never really got a bank loan because I don't want to have to be paying stuff back, and I've never had a big bulk of money come out within certain things. And so by getting that loan, but there were a lot of businesses that ended up basically getting a £50,000 loan because that was what was out there and it was free, cheap money, and then ending up not having to pay it back. And there's a lot of fraud that's gone on, and things like that. So um, yeah, it certainly was an interesting one from the
It
from.
was a really tricky time, and I got hit by that because I got made redundant at the same time as I really launched into being self-employed right at that point. So I couldn't be furloughed because I was no longer employed, and I didn't have a previous year's tax return to be able to
You're in that.
do it funny. So I was right in the middle. I just fell through the cracks.
Mm,
But luckily there were things that, as you say, like things and people that were able to support me through that, and I was able to pick up some odds and ends of socially distanced forestry work, that stuff to get me through. But yeah, it very tricky time, and there are some protections that are provided to self-employed people, and there are some protections that are provided to companies, and seems to be a bit of a luck of the draw which one works out best when something
yeah,
like that happens.
but I think it's an interesting point in terms of uh, yeah. I mean, you saw by my information about myself what I've got so many different avenues. So being a forest school leader, being a qualified teacher, being a responder with the ambulance service, being a mountain leader. I keep doing these new courses because you never know when the next COVID's around. So if there's a problem, like for example, going from PE to outdoors, all my PE stuff pretty much stopped when COVID was, and I was being all those schools I was working with. It's like, okay, well, we'll do everything outdoors now. So can you do outdoor learning? Can you do forest school? So that's where for the last 4 years, I've gone from PE to doing outdoors. Um, and I was only able to do that because I'm constantly going on courses and constantly upskilling myself and not resting on, one focus.
How's that been working out? Because I mean, there's obvious strengths to just focusing energies in one area, whether it comes to just getting something off the ground, making sure the marketing is all on point, and how it's kind of a two-part question I really have is yeah, how's the distributed focus? Because that definitely does work. When I had income coming in from working retail as an employee, as well as self-employed stuff, as well as forestry work, as well as little bits of other pieces, it was a very stable income where if I lost one of those, I only lost a third of my income and I
Yeah.
could still carry on going. And I did lose a third multiple times over the last couple of years. And I managed to keep going because of a distributed, but not having that focus has been difficult. So it's first of all, yeah, question of how do you manage focus, and also how do you keep on top of all of these different businesses and interests?
Um, well, I think I probably should get checked out for ADHD because multifaceted and lots of things going on, and how do you focus and stuff like that. I think it's very difficult. I mean, I've been involved in committees as well. I've been, and I pick and choose what committees I'm involved now. Um, and it's like going meeting new people. Networking is the biggest thing you can do, and it might not happen, next month or a few months down the line. But there'll be something that actually I know a person that I met there, and that could fit in and help me with X, Y, and Z, and things like that. Um, so I guess in terms of work, I work hard, but then I do have rest periods when I sleep. I don't know. It's a real tricky one. I kind of like, okay, what's the main focus now? What do I need to do? Okay, let's really narrow down, and we've got to get and that. But also bringing in other people that can do certain aspects of it. So this year we're launching we're launching woodland escape rooms. So the big push at the moment is all these escape rooms, and there's thousands of pounds, and everybody's doing it, and things like that. So I've kind of like I had a basic concept. I know nothing about creating escape rooms. I just know there's loads of jigsaws and things like that. But I found someone that can actually do it. So I've got like, okay, well, let's put the woodland that, I love being out in a woodland and outdoors and stuff like that. No one's really doing escape rooms in woods. So it's something completely new and different. Um, and there's possible long-term development on this. I am rubbish at creating websites and making it work. I just know that if I click on that, it should work. Um, it's like when my web designer says you need to change the function of the S3 on the. It's like, what are you talking about? I don't know. And then the answer comes back. That'll be something I'm sorting. Then it's like, yes, much rather pay for somebody that can do it easy than trying to work out something that I don't have the expertise in.
I
So it's
mean,
about bringing in key people really as well.
that's a really valuable point there, I think, is that one of the key advantages of starting to scale up a business rather than just do it all yourself is that you can bring in expertise to either cover your weaknesses or do the stuff you really don't want to do and
Yeah,
you know someone else could do better.
yeah,
I mean, for me, it's a one man show, so I do everything, and there's stuff that I really don't want to do. And even when I'm running sessions, it's why I'm starting to look at, okay, can I get another leader in? Because there's stuff that I'm very good at. I do practical skill stuff. I love the bushcraft stuff. I'm not good at stories and fairy doors
yeah.
and all that and games. So if I could find someone that was good at that and bring them in, then I'd have a much broader appeal. I'd be able to support a lot more children, a lot more different sessions, and then I'd be able to scale upwards from there. And it's just going, okay, well, when is the time you want to bring other people in?
Yeah. I mean, there's often a case, and I've had discussions before, people within business, and sort of saying, in order to expand, you want to be um, working at your business rather than in your business. So it's like every year, self-employed people spend ages doing all their financing and stuff like that, and it's like, look, I know I know what comes in and I know what goes out. That's the best of it. But I don't want to be spending hours because I don't enjoy it. So let's get somebody that is an expert in tax affairs because they'll be able to help you and tell you where all the tax efficiencies you can get in order to make sure that the income that you get is a decent income.